Hey guys, hope you're having a great day. So, last time we talked about some questions that come up often with new or potential physician families that we're talking to. And so I'm going to continue on with some of those questions. And last time we talked about AUM or investment based advisors and getting a second opinion on those. I'm going to keep going down that road of but a kind of a different flavor of it that comes up a lot. And so the question that comes up often that I wanted to talk through today was I deal with a product based advisor, and I'm not sure, same sort of thing as the last one. I'm not sure if it's the best fit for me. I've heard that might not be that there might be some big conflicts of interest. And I just want to get a second opinion on whether or not this is best for me. So the product-based advisor. So this type of advisor, last time I said we talked about the investment-focused advisor. So the product advisor is a little bit different. So we started with the money last time, and I think it's important to kind of understand how compensation works because that's going to tell you a lot about incentives and where their attention is going to focus. So the product-based advisor is going to be focused on selling products. I mean, that obviously, and in particular, things like disability insurance. So for physicians, they're going to try to sell disability insurance or life insurance products. Those are the most common sells for like younger physicians. As you get older, they can sell investment products or like annuities, those kinds of things. But the gist of it is they have financial products that they want to sell you, that they get paid by the product manufacturers. They get paid a commission by those product manufacturers to sell the product. So you don't have to pay them. And sometimes they even like promote that. They're like, well, I can be like an advisor for no cost. And so it can sound like appealing, but there's always a cost. So typically the product-based advisor is going to like track you down. They're very incentivized to sell transactionally. So these are probably the advisors that are bugging a lot of you guys already. They're like emailing you, or they're saying they've got your name from a buddy and they wanted to talk to you about how they've helped your buddy. I know I actually have worked in this role as well early in my career, so I kind of know the song and dance. Now, so it's a sales focused job. They're going to try to sell you those products. It sounds good and it can work well. I think this is probably the hardest model to make it work well. It can work well, but it most of the time it's not a good setup for you. For the advisor, it may be different. So when you work with someone like this, you're typically going to see a boilerplate process. They're going to have like a getting information together and advising you or helping you plan ahead. And it's very, very intentionally structured to help them sell more products. It might not feel like that as the client or customer, but it definitely is. Like that's the way their process is structured. Is they're working through their advice process, and they definitely position themselves as a trusted advisor, but in reality, they are a salesperson. And so their process is going to be designed to kind of act as if they're a trusted advisor, but it's really ultimately intended to sell more products. And that's just, they have to just to make a living. Now, some product-based advisors don't do the whole like salesperson in disguise thing, which is, I think, honorable. There are a few that are like, well, I just sell insurance and that's what I'm offering and I'm going to help you get it. And that, I think, is a more transparent way to operate. But most of them are like, I am an advisor, trusted advisor. And in reality, it's not that a salesperson is bad, but the disguise part is bad. It's like dishonest. And so they're incentivized to sell more products always. Like I said, the things you'll see, disability and life insurance. Those are the most common vehicles. As a physician, so a lot of times you'll say, okay, well, I have to buy those products anyway. And that's a good point. You might as well get some advice for free too. The problem with that is their advice is going to be skewed towards selling you more of it. Also, if you're not buying more, they're going to stop paying attention to you. Like the model doesn't work if you're not buying. And so they need to keep selling you stuff. Otherwise, they're not going to pay any attention to you. And the attention they do pay to you is going to be focused on selling more or pressuring you to connect them with their buddies, like to get referrals or something like that. And so I think most people, when they're on the receiving end of that, it doesn't feel right. It's definitely very conflicted. They don't have really any incentive to tell you to do things like a lot of times that are really most important, like how do I decide on how much to spend on a house? Like what about saving for my retirement at work? How do I maximize tax shelters? Like they're just not going to have incentive to do those kinds of things, and they're going to pressure you to buy more products. So another product I'll throw out there that's common, when you start earning a higher income, they'll typically recommend things like whole life insurance and annuities. Those are other financial products that they can sell that will, and the amount that they get paid on those is really high, which is partly why those products suck most of the time. It's just when you have a super high expense, hidden cost product, it's just going to be pretty lousy for the customer. So you got to be careful with this sort of advisor. But the granddaddy of like problematic advisors, so I just described the product-based advisor, and that has a lot of conflicts and it's problematic, and you're not going to get a lot of advice. I mean, or at least objective advice from that setup, and you shouldn't expect it. It's going to be more sales pressure. But I think the granddaddy of all crappy advisors is the combined product and investment focused advisor, and maybe charge a fee to do planning advisor. So we'll call it like the jack of all trades advisor. And so a lot of advisors go this direction. They look at it as a way to earn more money, but also to offer more services. And so that, it sounds good to be able to offer more services, but the problem is it just like compounds all the conflicts of interest even more so, and just muddies the water. It's like, what are you? Are you a salesperson? Are you an advisor? What are you going to be incentivized to do? So it's like, okay, well, let's use if I'm being skeptical about it, and I think people are kind of self-focused, people are selfish at the end of the day, and most people will be incentivized to make more money. So if you're looking at it like that, it's like, okay, well, if you're going to use your investment, you're going to sell investment management as a percentage of my assets, and you're going to use your planning services, your advice services to reinforce that and allow that to grow even more, while also selling as much products as possible to me along the way. And worst of all, maybe you're even charging me to do the whole planning of it all and quarterback it. So that is a terrible setup, in my opinion, to work with an advisor, and I would steer clear of that. So that's the product-based advisor. I also capped it out with the kind of the jack of all trades advisor. And like I said, we see this a lot. I think of the two or three, unfortunately, the most common setup is the product-based advisor and that becomes a jack of all trades advisor, especially for younger physicians, because they just harass residents. Like they just are so aggressive and try to get in front of people to where a lot of times people just give, and they're like, well, I guess I needed those products. Might as well get it from somebody that's like harassing me. So unfortunately, we see that a lot, and it's just something I think, like I said in the prior show, I think the big thing is just having awareness. I think that will help a lot. So hope it's been helpful. We'll look forward to catching up next time.